welcome to my podcast, Soul Expansion and Inspiration. My name is Allie Shea, and this is Series 2, Episode 1. Today, I have a very special guest, Janet Miller. Janet Miller is a Divine Light Accelerator, and she helps people to recognize their divinity and how to open themselves to the gifts they are meant to bring to the world. Janet also coaches and does energy work as part of this process. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you, Allie. I feel so honored to be here, and we've had so much fun on my show, so this is such an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, we'll talk about your show a little bit later on, which I had the privilege to be a guest on, which was so much fun and loved doing it with you. So thank you so much, and thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. It's a very busy time for you.
It's a bit busy, yes. Just got finished with a family reunion, and it was amazing.
That's awesome. Did you have it where you live?
I had it at my home. Yes, it was
where are you based for the listeners, please?
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut. I'm near Hartford. I'm in South Windsor, Connecticut, right near Hartford. So it's outside between Boston and New York. I'm about an hour and a half outside of Boston, and about 2.5 from New York City.
Wow, lovely.
So I'm in the Great Speedway between two great cities, and I grew up in Boston. So Boston is my hometown originally.
Lovely, lovely. I've not been there myself, but my sister spent a summer in Boston and loved it. So I've heard good things.
Dublin reminds me of Boston. I want to tell you, when I was in Dublin, I felt like I could feel Boston. It was like the energy of Boston was in the air. It was very cool. I loved it.
I didn't know that.
Very special. Yeah, a lot of people say Boston and Dublin are very connected. I could feel the energy was very, very Boston, but a little different because of the European, but it was fabulous. Loved it. Loved being in Dublin.
Wow. Lovely. When did you come to Dublin?
It was 2013. My daughter was there for a semester abroad. She was in University of Dublin. So she was there for the spring, and she had a fabulous time. Oh, she had an Irish roommate who was from County Cork.
Okay.
And she had 2 Irish roommates. I can't remember what the other one was because she was very close to one of them, but it was wonderful. And then we traveled all around to different parts of Ireland. We were there for about a week, and we drove all around, even when that other side of the driving.
I was going to say on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah. My son was in the front seat with my husband because he decided, because he said, I can't miss this. So it was great because it was a great family trip because they're all grown up, and he had been out of college and living out of the house. So he joined us. And my daughter was in her junior year, I think it was. And so we had such a fabulous time.
Oh, that's so great. I'm so glad you had a nice time here. It's always lovely to hear, isn't it?
I love Ireland. I'm a total fan of Ireland. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm a fan of the US, so.
Mutual love affair.
Yeah, that's it. I don't think I was born for this country, but anyway, we'll see what happens as the chapters go by. So, you grew up in an alcoholic home with an alcoholic father who never got help for his addiction. You say that your spiritual journey started really in 1992 when you decided yourself to stop drinking and got help from the AA. Mm-hmm. Can I ask you, do you believe that you were an alcoholic, or do you believe that if you had continued to go down the path of drinking, that you would eventually have succumbed to the disease? Because addiction can be such a hard cycle to break. Did you also find it a difficult thing to do, or was it easy because you had sought outside help? Just a couple of questions in the one there.
It's a good question because my dad, he grew up with alcoholism. So it was like inherent, and it's sort of a gene. It's a disease, really. Alcoholism is a disease. So yeah. I saw him when I was growing up, and he did stop drinking when I was about 12, but he didn't get sober in his mind. Like when you go, I went to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've been in it for 26 years. Wow. And you really need the support. I will say the support is key because there's so much shame and guilt around drinking because, you do things you can't remember, I was kind of a closet drinker. My dad was not that at all. Right. He was out there in public all over, and it was really hard. And so he just stopped drinking, which is okay. But yet he still had what they call the stinking thinking. which is, you know, the mindset of an alcoholic. It's not clear because he was still living in the shame of it. He was still living in the guilt of it and all that he brought through with into the family. And, you know, he never cleared that from himself, which would have been so wonderful for him. So when I was on the path, I didn't think I would ever be on it, to tell you the truth. I thought I'd be fine. Oh, I saw it, so why would I do it? But, you know, it's all about the wounds you get, you know, and, you know, the doubts you have about yourself and all that kind of thing. But, you know, so I took my first drink at 14 and
Right.
I liked it a lot. And, you know, I was very quiet. You wouldn't believe that now, I guess, but I was quiet and shy. And I was like the wallflower. I wouldn't say boo. And so when I drank, I got that, wow, I can talk. I feel like a little, you know,
A buzz.
into my courage here. And I really felt like this was a good thing. So that's what encouraged me to drink, was that being you know, stepping away from the wallflower profile I was living in. And I was becoming more friendly, more open, more, you know, part of the cooler crowd. Not that I was ever really part of the cool crowd, but I was part of the crowd. You know, I was more in the flow with everybody.
Yeah.
And, but my dad, you know, he didn't. And so that was sad. I felt bad because he never felt good about himself his whole life. And where I can say I've done the work, you know, I've done lots of different things. I've gone to therapy. I've gone to AA for years. I mean, I had a sponsor, did sponsoring, you know, and then I got opened up to my spiritual path, which was huge. I mean, it was my gateway to spirituality. And as far as would I have gone down the path? Well, I was determined not to let my family experience what I experienced. And I said, I'm not doing this to my family. So as soon as I saw myself going down that path, I said, oh, this is not a good thing. This is not good. You need to stop.
Yeah.
And
so it was taking responsibility for your actions before they really got out of hand.
Exactly. When I was starting to see things were getting out of control and it was affecting my children, they were young. My son was 6, my daughter was 2. And I just knew I couldn't do this to them or my husband. I mean, he didn't, you know, why would this happen? Why should he have to live like this? So I put myself into the program, and just the minute I walked in the door, I knew I was with the right people because they understood me. They felt what I felt. It was wonderful. It was it's such a feeling of community and support.
Yeah.
And, you know, your stories, they're your stories. It's like, okay, all different levels of stories. Like they always say, what's the word? You go to, oh gosh, I can't think of the word right now. There's a different level. Everybody's at different levels in their sobriety because everyone's, you know, alcoholism was at different levels. Some people were living on the street. Some people were not. Some people were like me, living at home and being fine and having a family. Some people's families are totally broken. You know, there are so many different levels of people in the program, but we all could share that common feelings that caused you to get to that level of drinking. So, you know, and so I just knew it was perfect for me, and it was really helpful. And another member of my family was in it too, and he kind of, you know, told me about it, and I said, you know, at least I know what to do. And that's when I called the hotline when I knew I was going down the path. I was going down the rabbit hole, and it was just not a good one.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful. I'm really grateful because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about, you know, what alcoholism is in families and how it affects people. Wounds. I mean, that's what opened up my spiritual path.
Yeah.
Because AA is a very spiritual group. Alcoholics Anonymous is they're very spiritual. You read your meditation books, you read your guidebooks, you share the steps. I mean, it's amazing what you can do there. And it totally opened the door. You know, I brought up Catholic, right? I had, you know, 12 years of Catholic school with the nuns. I mean, really, I did the whole bit. And then I married a Jewish guy. So, you know, my whole life is not by the book at all.
Yeah.
But it's good because my kids were raised in the Jewish religion, but they know they're both. They know their mom was, you know, Christian, but yet I'm spiritual. I don't even go there anymore. You know, that world is not my world anymore. My world is spirituality and source and love and working with people with love and connection and helping people connect to their self-love and to, you know, any doubts or fears you have, you know, can be worked through because I'm living example of what I lived through. So
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I think, you know, what you're saying, it's so true. No matter what we're going through in life, whether we're trying to give up an addiction or we're trying to lose weight or, you know, we're going to some other group for something else, it's that feeling of oneness that we can all experience together, isn't it? Where you're the same as me and you're going to support me on my journey, which makes me feel much more secure in my journey. And I think that that's really important when we're going through anything like that.
Plus they're walking the same walk and they talk the same talk. We all have been through those different degrees of the experience. So we know where they're coming from is authentic and real.
Yeah.
You're not just guessing at what you're saying or understand. They totally get it because they've been there themselves. Exactly. And that's key, the experience yourself, that when you experience that and you share that with others that have done it, it's so healing.
So
really.
I'd like to say at this point to you, congratulations. How many years have you got with your little disc? Don't you get a little disc?
I get my coin, yes. Actually, this year is 27. Gosh, I'm starting to forget. Isn't that weird? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was 1992. So it's 26. Excuse me.
Wow. That's an achievement though. So congratulations.
Yep.
Congratulations. So you were with AA for about 8 years. You were just saying that it really accelerated your path to spirituality because you were reading those meditation books, etc., etc. But you were also made aware of Reiki at this time, and you decided to train in that modality and began to open up more and more to your spiritual path. You went on to learn other healing modalities as well. So would you like to tell everybody a little bit about that?
Yeah, my first experience with Reiki was amazing. I was at a soccer game. My son was in soccer. It was probably middle school for him. And that's like 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And I had a headache and a friend said, "Oh, sit down. Let me do this thing on you." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Oh, just sit there." And of course I love new things. I'm always open to new things. And I'm still in AA. So even though I said 8 years, it was 8 years until I opened up my spiritual, like this new path of spirituality, like a
Sure.
deep level. So she said, "Sit down." And then she put her hands around me and I felt this amazing warmth and this amazing, just like love surround me. I'm like, what is this? Like even now putting my hands up, I can feel it.
Yeah.
And it was so deep. I just went into like bliss. It was like being in bliss. And I said, "Wow, what is this?" And my headache was, boom, it was gone. And I said, "This is something I need to know about." And it turned out a friend of mine we were involved in the Jewish temple at the time, was doing it. She was teaching it to the women. So I went with her. She taught it at the yoga studio. So I went there and I took the courses. I took all 3 levels. And oh my goodness, it was the first time I was opened up to a guide. I met my first guide in Reiki.
Wow.
And she was gorgeous. I can still see her. Her name was Marta, and she was a dancer. She was like from Egypt, because I have an Egyptian connection. And she was like a belly dancer. And she was my first guide, who literally I could see her eyes, her face. I could see it all. And I was like, wow. I've never experienced this before, but I believed it. I totally believed it.
Because maybe when you were having one of your attunements?
It was sort of in the meditative state before right after the attunement. It was amazing. It was, and I'll never forget it. It's still there. As I say, I can remember it.
Yeah, because I'm a Reiki practitioner too. I'm also a natural energy healer. So Reiki energy is amazing.
It is. It's so powerful. And so it just opened the door to more things. And I needed to connect with more people because I knew that this was a start for me. I needed more. So I had heard about, the same friend had 2 people coming to her that had known about a healing school.
Yeah.
So I came and I met them at her house when we all had a little talk, and they said, "Oh, we're going to this healing school." It's about an hour away from me. So I said, "Okay, I'm willing to do anything. I need to be with a community of people that do this work." So I joined the school, and it was like a weekend school and in a college, and I went for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
It was wonderful. Oh my goodness. There was 17 of us. It was 16 girls and 1 guy. He was, and you know.
This was just every weekend, was it?
It was about every other weekend. It wasn't every weekend. but it was so wonderful because our experience, I mean, we went Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. So we
Oh,
would
wow.
go the weekend. Yeah, so I would stay there like at a rooming house or at someone's house. We found rooming houses in the area, which was great, and we could stay. And then you bonded more, which was really special because then you had a deeper connection to the community. And we had 2 teachers who were fantastic. And they just were so wonderful how they taught us everything about, you know, your auras and the chakras, and then all the different types of energy that you can use to help keep clear things. And it was so powerful. I loved it. It was one of the best experiences of my life.
I love all that work. It's just, the energy is just beautiful. Really is. That's lovely. That's wow. 3 years is a long time. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it was powerful. They had a 2-year program when I started, and then they extended the 3rd, and I stayed for the 3rd. And a lot of us did. I would say most of us did.
Yeah.
And other groups, like we were about the 2nd or 3rd class of this school. We were one of the largest. And so it was wonderful that other
I'd say you were so sad when it ended.
It was hard. Yeah, I still keep in touch with at least 2 of the women.
Oh, lovely.
Very close to one of them, and we still maintain, you know, we talk regularly every week, and she still lives about an hour away from me, but we see each other as often as we can, and I keep in touch with 2 or 3 other people that we still connect. So it's actually, yeah, I do actually keep about 4 or 5 people that I stay connected to. So it's really nice. And I
That's
did go
brilliant.
to those near my area, because this side of the river, we call it, is like we're on the other side of the Hartford River, which is the Boston side. Then there's the other side, which is more the New York side. And I would connect with her whenever I could. So it's nice. It's
fantastic. Fun. It's always nice to have friendships from these things, isn't it?
It was.
Long-standing friendships. You say that the spiritual leaders that have inspired you were really the ones who introduced you to your energy and healing work that we've just been talking about. But you talk specifically about Johnette Crowley. Am I saying her name right?
Johnette. Yeah, Johnette was a big influence in my life as far as opening me up to more kinds of energy, because Johnette has a Center for Creative Consciousness out of Denver. And she came to Connecticut under the invitation of one of the women that was studying shamanism, and had an event, like for a weekend event. And so I went, and she channels Mark, who is a being that has never been in human form. And that was all new to me, but it was so deep and it was so powerful what she was bringing through, that I'm totally like, wow, this is, I need to, you know, be here and learn more from this woman. And so I've traveled with her a lot. We've gone around the world. I think I mentioned that. I've learned her soul body fusion, which is a form of healing. It's very unique, very different. It's powerful for helping clear things very simply, but it's beautiful.
Is it for clearing people or places? Or
people,
both?
mostly people right now, but we also can use, when we do the grid work, like we travel around the world, and she's guided to go to places to help clear specific areas. And like we were in Cambodia, Vietnam a few years ago, and Cambodia, we went to the killing fields, which was where they had the, way back in the 60s, when they had the Khmer Rouge there that killed so many civilians. And it was so sad because the energy was so palpable.
Yeah.
I mean, we went to help these people cross over. A lot of them are still stuck.
Oh, really?
Because they don't even know they're gone. I mean, that's what happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And they get stuck and they don't know where to go. So we help guide them to go up and to go into the light. And some of them weren't ready to go into the light. And, you know, it's just interesting work we do. Plus it helps clear the energy of the area. There was a huge museum there, which had, you know, skulls, like mountains of skulls in it. Oh, it was sad. And they're all ages. And they literally had like the names and the people and like the ages of them. And it was just
very sad.
It's so amazing that people can do that to each other. It's like, how do you do that? And can you live with yourself? You know, it's hard to believe, but this is, you know, the world we're changing. This is what we're changing in the world.
Exactly.
War is not acceptable anymore. I think most people really look at war and say, why? Why do we need that? Because, you know, the ones who send us are not the ones who are going. They don't go.
Yeah. And do you have mediumship skills as well then, Janet?
Well, you know, I would say whenever I do healing work, I always get intuitive. I mean, I can do readings on people like through the chakra system.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing the clearing of the chakras, I always have a reading for each chakra. I can get into past life events. I can see past lives. I can see like some or wounds that show up, and it's powerful. It really is powerful.
That's amazing.
It's so, you know, I haven't been claimed a medium, so I just know I have high intuition.
I just wondered when you said that you help people to cross over, yourself and your friend Jeanette.
Well, we all do that as a group. We did it as a community. And, you know, anyone can do it, really. We just have to know how to do it. Just have to, you know, put the candles out and say the prayers and help guide them, and, you know, and have the, and without fear, you know, you've got to get out of the fear. Yeah. And just know that you can do that, and know that it's possible. And, you know, it took time to get to that level, really. It didn't happen overnight. And it's all about, you know, believing in what you do, and believing that, you know, we are source, that we are, you know, here divine beings to, you know, in human form, to change the world and to learn lessons in this form, to accelerate our own spiritual path and the path of the world, and where we choose to be right now, which is Earth, which is the beautiful garden of Earth that we need to keep beautiful. And be aware of what we're doing to Earth, to be conscious of it. And I think we're stepping out of the unconsciousness more and more. And that's so important, because the mass consciousness affects everything. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
Right. And when we can, like the group of healers and people that are in the work, like you and I are affecting more and more people. That's why, you know, doing my show and you doing your show, we bring it to people to show them how important it is to be aware of certain things, like what you can do for yourself. I mean, we're so much more powerful than we know. Oh, and we are learning to step over those boxes that were put around us, those cultural boxes, those cultural beliefs they're outdated. They're gone. I mean, because if you see what we're doing today, I mean, people are doing amazing things. I mean, people are doing unheard of feats of, you know, just climbing mountains and doing all these crazy extreme sports and all. I mean, that alone shows you how powerful people are. Yeah. I mean, that's stepping out of being in the old box of you're just a human and you're weak and whatever, you know.
And I think the more that we join forces together, and the more that, because we are all one, and the power of us all together, and as you say, the collective consciousness, putting all that out into the world, shining our light, helping to, you know, raise the vibration of the planet and all those types of things, helping people to see who they really are. It's all going to make a difference in this world.
It does, and it's creating the shift that everyone's talking about. It's creating the, other people call it ascension, other people call it just, you know, crossing the bridge. There's so many different ways we can call it nowadays. They're all different names and labels, but basically it's shifting consciousness. It's moving into a higher way of looking at things, looking at it from the higher level of, we're all here in love. I mean, when you really look at people, we all live from love. I mean, nobody really wants to live in hate, do we? I mean, you don't, I don't. I mean, you look at the news and you say, wow, the news tells you all these things, but yet it's not the truth. It's just a small part of what's going on in the world.
That's why I don't watch the news. I teach people not to watch the news.
And my husband will turn around and I'm like, oh no, you're watching the talking heads again. He started laughing last night when I said it. He goes, you call them the talking heads? I'm like, well, they are the talking heads, because they're the ones who are, you know, it's like they're trying to keep us in that drift. They call it the drift. You know, there's another name. We got to shift the drift, which is this sleeplessness that we get into because we don't want to be responsible for our life. And I've had to learn to be responsible of my own through all the trials and errors. I mean, we all have to learn, and none of us have gotten through this journey unscathed in anything. We've all had our little adventures and learnings, and it's really a learning. I mean, when you look at your experiences, and this is what I've learned, is when you look at your experiences in life, no matter how bad or good they are, something came out of that was important for you to know. Because even with my alcoholism, look at it, led me to my spiritual path.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, I'm so grateful for that.
Same as me with my depression. Yeah, I think,
Yeah, you have that.
a lot of people, especially, those who have spiritually awakened, if you look at most of them, they'll all have come from some background of contrast or other. And we all have to go through contrast. So like you've got depression, you've got anxiety, you've got suicidal people, people who've had near-death experiences, people who've been homeless, people with alcoholism, people with drug abuse. If you look at it, there is quite a history there for most of the people in the spiritual realm society today that will have gone through something or other. And, looking back, once you've gone through that spiritual journey like we have, we can look back and say it was for our growth and for our expansion and for us to be where we are right now.
Exactly. And, I've read many different books, and the one that, I can't think of his name right now, Newton.
Isaac Newton?
Not Isaac. No, it was, anyway, it's Newton, and he wrote books on near-death experiences, and he was doing, I can't think of his name right now, I'm sorry.
Okay.
What would we call this one?
I read them myself, but a long time ago.
Yeah, you probably did. And he used to hypnotize people, and all of a sudden, somebody came through with this, like they were on the other side. They were talking from the other side about their life and what they had done there to come into this life, and how they created a contract to come into this life to create this lesson that they're learning. And so we create everything we've done. We are creators. We're total creators in this world. And that's hard for us to believe. That's how much we are in charge of our lives. We are total creators. And so when we come in with this contract, which is to learn, say you want to learn to receive, right? So you could come in as a quadriplegic. You could have an accident and become a quadriplegic, because now you're learning to receive from people, because maybe in the last life you gave it all away. You were giving. So in this life, which I believe in reincarnation and multiple lives, because we keep learning, and every time we come back, it's a new lesson. So when this person, this the example I was saying, that this person comes in to receive by becoming a quadriplegic. And that person, as hard as that is for them, I mean, when you look at the overall picture, this is what the ultimate goal was in this life, was to complete that lesson in how to receive. And you don't know how it's going to come through. It's not going to come through in the gorgeous, rosy ways you think it might come through. It can come through in all kinds of ways. I mean, you could get lucky and become wealthy and whatever, and then you have lots of money to give away. And then you can receive the wealth and give it away. I mean, there's lots of ways it can happen to you. But those are the contrasts that we come in with, and we never know how it's going to come to us.
Fascinating, isn't it? Absolutely fascinating.
It is. And I love that. I love that about spiritual work, because the more you learn, the more you need to learn. The more you don't know. It's like the path is endless, because we're always going into new avenues and new ways of learning and new ways of helping each other, and energy is opening up more and more to higher levels, because the more our consciousness expands, the more we expand our energy acceleration, plus we can work with it in different ways every time we expand.
Yeah, so. And the energy is moving faster on the planet these days as well. And also every time we expand, because we've gone through contrast individually, the rest of the planet expands as well as a result of that.
Exactly. The micro to the macro.
Yeah.
One person does it, it's like the ripple. It's the ripple effect. We spread it out. The 100 monkey theory. I mean, those are the old terms, but it's there. It's the networking. We're all, like you say, the oneness. This is what oneness is all about. The unification of the planet. I mean, I don't know if people believe in other planets, but I totally believe we're not the only ones in the universe. Yeah. I feel like others, we haven't seen total evidence, but we sure have a lot of talk going on. And a lot of movies that show us things. How do they know all this stuff? What's really going on? Where are they finding out all this information? Something's going on we don't quite know about. I'm not going down that rabbit hole, but anyway, there's a lot going on that we're not totally aware of in the world. And I think people are going to be finding out sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
It's important. I mean, I am very open to hearing things, and it's all about discernment. Are you willing to hear something? And even if you're not sure, just to keep an open mind about it, because you don't know. How do we know?
Exactly.
Nobody knows what the wind looks like, but you can feel it, right? And nobody knows, what's God? God is source to me. God is love. That's just the energy of love. It's this central point of creation that just radiates out love and just sends it to us. And we learn through each, and then the experience of that love is to have each of us have these experiences. And that's why we were created, to have these experiences so that energy can experience our experience, and it's just multiplied. And so we learn so much from that, and the energy learns, and we keep growing from it, because the more we learn, the more we grow, as you know, as you said.
It's such a beautiful circuit, isn't it? It just is.
It is. It's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful adventure. And when you look at that, even like I said, the bad stuff in your life, you've got to see what came out of it that was good, because something always does.
Yes, finding the silver lining, finding, as you say, what was good in it, what we've learned from it, how we can grow more.
Yeah, and people, to get out of the victim consciousness, which we've all been there. We've all been in our victim consciousnesses, and me as well. And we can all jump back in there every now and then. But to finally realize you don't have to be there all the time. You can shift out of it quicker and quicker, because you realize that you're not alone. We've all gone through stuff like this, some way, shape, or form. And that there's someone out there that's willing to help you, be with you, learn with you. There's a community of people that are here for you. And if you're open to receiving them, to work with them and be with them, they're here. There's so much available to us.
Exactly. Well, thank you for that. You've also talked about Tom T. Moore, who brought through the most benevolent outcome prayer, and you use this extensively in your life and have seen miraculous results from it. It sounds to me a little bit like Ho'oponopono, if you've heard of Ho'oponopono.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about this miraculous benevolent outcome prayer?
Well, Tom, he wrote many books. He's written one called Atlantis and Lemuria, which I absolutely love. It's like to me, it's the most accurate depiction of Atlantis and Lemuria that I've ever read, because he puts details in there that I've never heard anywhere else. And so he was on my show, and he talked about how he's had 1,000 lives. Wow. He's one of the oldest beings on the planet. And so he's a miraculous man, just that, and he has so many talents. And that's what I said to him is, how come you have so many talents, Tom? He goes, because I've lived 1,000 lives, and they all come in, and I just have to pick and choose and say, I'm going to try that. And then it poof, the energy comes in that helps him see it through. So, he's an entrepreneur. He was a writer. He was a healer. He was, all kinds of things. He was very big in Atlantis. But so he brought through this most benevolent outcome prayer. And he shared it with me. I was reading about him through the Sedona Journal, which is a journal of channeled energy people that I really enjoyed for years and years. Still read it. I have fun reading it. And these are the people that have been doing this kind of work probably for the last 40 years or more. They've been doing it a long, long time. And they're the real openers, the path showers, that we're continuing the work. And so he got the inspiration to say a prayer that would help you put it out to the universe. So he says, like, I say a little different than he does, because that's how I learned it the first time I read it from him. But I say all beings of light. And he says there's two ways of doing it. If you're doing it for someone else, you can say all beings of light who are in service to me or the other person. I am asking for a most benevolent outcome about getting to this appointment on time and helping me through this traffic because I'm running late. It could be that simple.
Right.
You put it out and then you say, I'm asking for this, and even better than I can expect or hope for. And then you just let it go. And it happens. It just starts happening. It can be instantaneous, or it doesn't have to be. Like, I remember once asking for money, and money came through. But it doesn't mean it's going to come through that day. It doesn't mean it's going to come through that night. It's going to come through whenever it's the right moment for you. So that's the thing about the prayer. So I know so many people share with him. I had my girlfriend, my daughter's friend, whose dad was in the hospital having some heart work done, and he was not doing well. And I said a most benevolent outcome prayer for him. And she said, we weren't getting any information from these doctors. Then after you said that prayer, she goes, this doctor walked in and started telling us everything we needed to know. And it took so long for that to happen. But once the prayer was said, he showed up. And it
Wow.
was amazing. And I was so happy to hear that, because I've heard that from so many people. I've taught them how to say it, what you really need to do it yourself. As Tom says, people really, it's best if you do it yourself. But I've said it for all my friends will call me up and say an MBO. I call it MBOs, most benevolent outcome prayer. Say one for me, like my friend's afraid of flying. So I'll say the most benevolent outcome prayer of all beings of light, her in service to Ida. I am asking for the most benevolent outcome, that she has a safe journey, that all her luggage arrives on time, that she sits near someone she really enjoys or doesn't have to talk to if she doesn't want to, and she'll arrive on time, her luggage will be there, and her flight will be seamless, and she will feel good, and she'll be happy when she lands. And it always works beautifully for her.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's like that. And I know law of attraction can work like that too in so many ways. So
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a little bit like Dear Universe. I would like this, but for my highest good or for the highest outcome of anyone. And if not this, that, or something better.
Right. And so he calls it the most benevolent outcome prayer. And I love it because it just works for me.
Yeah,
and
that's lovely.
They say, thank you so much for that, because I use it and this happened and that happened. And, they're all so grateful. It's beautiful. It really is. And if you go on The Gentle Way, Tom T. Moore, that's his website, The Gentle Way, because his book, the method, he calls it The Gentle Way, because it is. I mean, it's all heart-based and it's beautiful. And, his story is amazing. If you read his book, Aquarius and Lemuria, it's really fabulous.
What's it called? Aquarius, Lemuria.
Lemuria, you don't know Aquarius? Not Aquarius. Atlantis, excuse me, I'm saying the wrong word. Atlantis and Lemuria. I'm sorry. I don't know where I got the Aquarius.
Lemuria, though.
You don't know Atlantis?
I've heard of Atlantis.
Well, Atlantis is there were two continents. Lemuria was based, they say, is in Hawaii. The Hawaiian Islands are like at the tip of Lemuria.
Okay.
There was a lot of high energy beings. It was like when we first came into human form on the planet, that you were Lemurian. Lemurians were sort of very etheric beings. They had really like filmy bodies and very light and totally living in bliss and all compassionate love. And it was like the blissful Garden of Eden that we hear the earth was. Right. And so when they came here, that's what was here. And that's how they lived for a long, long time. And then Atlantis was the other end of the spectrum, which was here in the Atlantic Ocean, the East Coast side, and it's supposedly off of the East Coast. They say the island of Bimini has a road that leads right into the water, which was part of Atlantis. Like and Atlantis worked with crystal energy. They had giant crystals, huge crystals, and they had crystal healing centers. And I know I was in one because I've had my readings about being an Atlantean crystal, and I love crystals. I have crystals everywhere.
Me too. I used to own a crystal shop,
That's right, you did. So you probably have Atlantean blood in you for sure. And
I can't wait to go to the States and to go to Sedona and see all the crystal shops and everything.
Oh, absolutely. I love crystal energy, and it just you can feel it immediately. It's so powerful. And it's so loving and so beautiful. And so they had giant crystals. I mean, they had we supposedly had 2 moons at the time that there was energy all through the Atlantean world they didn't have electricity. They didn't need it. They had crystal energy running through homes, heating it and running it. And, and people weren't getting sick, very rare, because they would go to the crystal healers and they would lay on the tables and they have these giant crystals, over them and working on them. And so lots of things were healed like so quickly. If anything came up, it was pretty rare that there was any disease in Atlantis. And then of course people fell into, greed and competition and, there's lots of things that say that we allowed beings to come onto the planet that we were trying to help to shift, but instead they brought us down. They brought our level down. And that's what created a lot of the negativity in our planet that we're still working to get rid of. Right. There was a huge galactic war. I mean, there's so many things you can read about. There was a huge galactic war that was so big that the Arctic, Antarctica, they're finding remnants up there of the beings. They say there's even beings up there that are like 13 feet long. They're still alive, but they're mummified and they're in like a trance state. Oh,
Wow.
there's lots of stories going on. I mean, I
I've
love
never heard any of that.
I know. Well, I did a lot of, like, for 3 years, I was like, woo, what is this? You know, I was just like, I have never heard of this. I didn't know about this. And it just opened up my eyes to so many other things that can be happening, because we are not the first generation on this planet. This planet is billions and billions of years old.
Yeah.
It is so old. That's why they say Göbekli Tepe was, what's the planet? I think it's the Pleiadians from the Pleiadian planet, which we have a lot of Pleiadian seed in us. We're not just human. We're hybrids. We really are. We're hybrids of many different groups. They say we were created as a hybrid. The people that are here now were created as a hybrid through many different seed races that decided to come in and help us, you know, be stronger, because there were people creating beings that weren't good. Like, that's why you see the Cro-Magnon man and the different people that weren't functioning well. Then they finally, where did we know Homo sapien come from? It was like, boom, just showed up on the planet. Yeah. Right? How did that happen? It just doesn't show up like that. You know how long it takes for planets to evolve? Something happened that made it happen so much quicker. And then we just started multiplying. And, you know, there's so many stories. Enki and Enlil, they're two brothers that are from another planet that brought through this. They say they're part of the creator race that brought us in. And we were brought in to be slaves. I mean, I could go really down the rabbit hole with you. We were brought in to be slaves on the planet. That's why they say Africa was the beginning, because they started there because they were searching for gold. There's like a white gold powder that helped them live longer lives. They're like thousands and thousands of years old. I mean, they're ageless, but they needed this white gold powder to help them live. And so they created beings to become slaves. I mean, there's so many stories. Which ones are true, I don't know. But it's fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. Did you read a lot of these stories in his book then, in Tom's?
Not all just from Tom Timor. The Atlantean things, that story is very unique because he talks about his journey in it and what he did there, and how he led a lot of people out of Atlantis to save them, because then Atlantis sunk. Like, they all sunk due to war.
And is he still alive?
Tom Timor's alive. Like, yes, he's lived 1,000 lives. I didn't say he was 1,000 years old. He's lived 1,000 lives. He's reincarnated 1,000 times.
Yes, and I understand that. But is he elderly now, or
70s? I mean, early 70s. Yeah, Tom Timor. If you Google him, The Gentle Way, you'll read his books. He's got a book about he has, you know, he's gotten a lot of information about, he has Enchura, who is his partner in it's another form of him from another planet. And it's like we live multidimensionally. So when you think about what we're living here, we are living also in another dimension, but it's like increments of change. Like, you may not be married to your husband, he may be your brother. I may not be married to my husband, he could be my uncle or something. Your daughter may be your mother. Everything like switches just a little to change the dynamic. This is what they say. Now, this is what, you know, you nobody knows for sure, but it's a lot of insight people are getting through, you know, dreams, channeling, just downloading information that comes through
our lives, isn't it?
It's fascinating stuff. I mean, there's so much going on in the world that I've heard about. Oh my goodness.
And there's so much that we can learn and read and take from it what we each individually feel is for us from it.
Learn. It's got to be your own choice of what you choose to think about, learn about, you know, because you can go down other rabbit holes that can make you kind of crazy. Yeah. So I had to pull away. But there's like, they talk about the earth being a honeycomb. Like, there's civilizations living in the inner earth. They totally say that's true. That there's lots of going on there that our military is involved in that we don't know about.
That's true, yeah.
I don't know. But they say there's a lot going on there. Like, you can get ships through rivers that go through these caverns that are huge. Submarines can go through. You can go from one end of the earth to the other in the middle of the planet. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on. The atmosphere inside, and supposedly there's groups there called, one of them is called the Anshar, that keep sending us healing energy to help us raise our consciousness, because they went into that inner planet when the earth started getting really volatile on the outside and things started shifting and you couldn't survive out here, and we kept going through the changes. And so they went in. And then when those beings started arriving that were not in full compassion and living with their heart, they came on. I mean, you know, I hope your listeners, I mean, there's lots of people they can check into. They can just Google these things and just, if they're interested, you know, and, you know, it's just information. It's
very
just
interesting, isn't it?
all kinds of things. I mean, when you look at the different galactic movies that are out there, so many is about space travel and about space this, space that. It's getting us ready, because they say that we will have a landing eventually. And I think within our lifetime for sure. And I've read that it's going to happen in Russia first, because they're the most open country in the world to this kind of being coming in without being attacked or killed, because America would shoot them down.
Yeah, probably.
But in Russia, they probably wouldn't. They're a little bit more esoteric. They're a little bit more willing to learn, you know. I don't know. This is what I've heard. This is all just, you know, hearsay. So take what you want and leave the rest, as they say.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. Thank you for sharing all of that, because I hadn't heard most of it. So it's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
It is. I mean, you can ask Elisa Midhouse if she's on your show and she's had her son on to tell you about some of these things. He'll tell you just little bits and pieces, because we have to find out on our own on this planet. This is why it's we're the school. Earth is the school. Mm-hmm. We are learning to all the different ways that we are, you know, divine beings, and how much we are capable of, and what's around us that we're not even aware of yet. Like there's dimensions like this close to us that we can't see yet because we're not ready.
Yeah.
That's why dogs can hear sounds we can't hear. When kids are born, they can see beings around them because they're still crossing. They haven't totally crossed into through the veil yet. They're still living like because they come in
much
with
more susceptible.
Yes. And I remember my daughter.
The dogs are as well, because my dog, he always sees spirits in my room.
Okay. See, dogs will see it. Yes, yes.
And he's always looking up at the wall, and there's nothing on the wall.
Sometimes you can see shadows. Sometimes you can see flicks. Sometimes
I can see energy. I can always see energy. I've got energy here. So I usually have some beings with me, and actually there's some there on the couch again. I usually have beings with me.
Well, you can ask them who they are and ask them what their names are, and they'll give you a name that you can say, because most of
somebody told me that one time Eric Metos was on the couch behind me, but I don't know whether
that would not surprise me at all. Eric has shown up in my house and played pranks on me. I'm like, you're hiding my phone, or if you're shutting off my, like I was in my front room last week and my light was flickering off and on. I'm like, okay, who is that? Is that you, Eric? Because he's the one who always plays the pranks.
That's right.
So he's funny, he's cute, he's sweet, he's harmless.
Yeah,
but I love him because he's a sweetheart. He's bringing through things that nobody knew, because he's talking from the other side to his mom, who was a doctor, so she has the credentials to, you know, people can't say, oh, she's totally nutty, because she's got credentials to help her, you know, back up some of the things he's saying. Plus, you know, things he's just saying are so real that she's got like evidence to show that this is, you know, the truth of what's happening at the moment.
I know, it's amazing. Yes, Elisa Medhus will be on the show later on.
Oh, you will love that series as well. That was a very popular one. Yeah. Love listening to and talking to her. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, she's had me on her radio show, and she's had me on her YouTube channel, and actually I'm going on her radio show again in June. So
Lisa is the one who told me about you, Allie. That's how I got connected to you.
And
I love that. Yes. Yeah. Elisa said, you've got to talk to Allie, and I'm like, absolutely. So that's how we got connected.
I love Elisa. I think she's great crack. I love her sense of humor, and I love what she's doing, inspiring the world through her son, you know, and I think she's amazing.
And that's what his gift is, to bring from the other side everything he's bringing, all this knowledge and all this experience that he's having, to help us see that this is what, you know, what's going on over there. When we go over there, it's not just an empty life. It's not just, you're not in the void.
Yeah.
You're growing, learning, and doing things, you know. It's just amazing.
I'll tell you a funny story, actually, seeing as you came across me through Elisa Medhus, was that I'm in another, I have another lady on my page. Her name is Tina Gooden or Goodwin. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, or Godin, I think. And she contacted me one day and she said, hey, I just want to let you know, you might think this sounds a little bit weird, but have you heard of Eric Medhouse? And I was like, no. And she said, she told me who she was. She was one of his mediums and what she did. And she said, you know, I keep getting messages from him. Everywhere I go, I keep seeing your name.
Oh,
Allie,
how cool.
Allie. And she said, could you contact his mother, please? Because I'm sure she'd love to have you on her radio station. I keep being told that she needs to learn about the law of attraction from you. And so obviously then I contacted her and she asked me to be on her radio station and stuff. And yeah, it was fascinating how it happened.
Yeah, it's a wonderful world. This is how we all connect with each other, because people that are generous like that are, you know, sharing names and learnings, and look at how they contact you. That's so fabulous.
Isn't it fascinating? And of course, because of my story is about depression and suicide and how I almost committed suicide and spent a month on suicide watch, that of course it resonated with Elisa.
Oh,
so
sure.
Eric really chose a really, really good, you know, storyline to connect with his mother.
There was no coincidence there.
No, there's no coincidences in this life, though. Everything is a synchronicity.
Right. We've all known each other somewhere, somehow, and we've all connected again here, which is so powerful, so wonderful.
Exactly.
And we're all like a family, and we're all reconnecting.
Yep, the divine power of oneness. That's it. So you've recently finished a fabulous series called Own Your Own Divine Light, which, as we've already said, I've had the privilege to be on. So thank you so much for having me as a guest. It was my pleasure to be on your show. What inspired you to do this show, and will you be gracing us with another series?
Well, yes, I'm planning on doing another one. It'll probably be either the end of the summer or early fall this year, 2019. And it could be On Your Divine Light Part 2. I haven't decided exactly yet, but it's so powerful for me to help people understand what self-love is all about, because I was never in self-love growing up because of all the alcoholism and feeling why me, you know. I was in a lot of victim consciousness, and I couldn't understand, why is this happening to me? And then when things started shifting, I had to pull myself out of my own family. I had to move out at the age of 19 so that I could have a life, because I was constantly, you know, being my mother's mother, helping her through all the crazy in the house. So I wanted people to understand that you can develop self-love, and there's a way to do it, and that I've done it, you've done it, we've all done it in different ways. And so I said, this is the kind of show I want to create for people to learn about how to create their own self-love, how to release the wounds and any trauma, or to glean the good things from it that you got, even though it was rough. And you can talk about it. You got to get through the grief of it and the pain of it before you can get into the good stuff. But to be able to hear other people who have gone through it, sometimes worse than any of us have gone through, and sometimes not as bad. But, you know, everybody's gone through different levels of those in their lives. And I wanted them to see that these people have all pulled themselves out of it and made their lives so much better than they could have ever imagined, because they chose to look past what's going on now. They had the right person show up in their life to give them an incentive, like, oh my goodness, you know, there's more to life. You can do this. And they got little hints that there's more in life that you could do. And that's what I want to do for other people who may be still stuck. And you know, we're all always forever growing. None of us are finished. We're constantly growing till the end. And then when you're on the other side, you're still growing. So it's a continuous journey of growth. And it's just learning. And what I've learned, I can help other people, you know, figure out things. And then I have to keep going and learning more to keep, you know, we all do, because that's how we grow and share and expand the consciousness of the and the people. So that was my mission, to do that.
Beautiful. And you did a fantastic series. So congratulations on that. And we'll look forward to your next one.
I am excited. Yes, I will look forward, and I will hope maybe you'll be on it again. It would be so wonderful.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Lastly, can I ask where people can get in touch with you and what services you specifically provide for the people?
Okay, well, my website right now is under construction. I'm going to be doing a whole new website because my old name was Transcendent Healing of my business, and now I've got the Own Your Divine Light, which I really resonate with, and I love it. So I'm shifting all that, and I do energy work. I do chakra clearings. I do reconnective healing. I do sound healing, theta healing, so many different things. Whatever is called, when we talk about what's going on in their lives, that's when it comes through. It's the guidance that comes through now. I just go completely by the guidance of what people need at the moment when we're talking about what's going on in their lives. So, we have a session where we, talk about what's going on, tell me more about yourself and where do you want to go, what's got you stuck. And then we do the energy work, which helps you clear and, helps you move on to the next level of what you can go to and get ready for. So every time you clear levels, it's the old onion, as we say, peeling the onion, clearing the way. And, so you go backwards a couple of times and you go forward again, but you're never fully back there. You're always going forward when you do this work. So always know anything you do for yourself like this, you're always making progress, no matter how it doesn't look perfect yet. It's not going to go overnight because none of this happened overnight. It's like having a baby. You didn't have that baby in a day. It's 9 months of development, and then that body doesn't go back to that original form very quickly. Occasionally, some women get lucky, but most of us have to work pretty hard to get it back. So
I have to work pretty hard. I'm still working 14 years later to get my body back.
Yeah, listen. Yes, I understand. I was always just great at working out. Now I'm just great. I even walk around because I go outside and I do my walks every year. And I belong to a health club, and I haven't been in a while, but I love walking, and I can do things in my house if I really want to, which I love. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can discipline myself, but I just got to discipline it, like sit there and do it, or get down there and do it. And so
is the website, you're still contactable at the website, or is there a better email, a better place?
You can contact me at onyourdivinelight.com, and you can email me at onyourdivinelight@gmail.com. And those are the two best places to connect. The show is still available if people are interested in hearing it. It is for purchase at this point. It's pretty nominal. We had 30 speakers, so Allie was one of them, and it was a great talk. And there's all kinds of people there. So if they're interested in that, they can always go on onyourdivinelight.com and pick it up, or they can just shoot me an email if they want to talk.
Worth listening to. It was fantastic. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. And you were wonderful. And it's ongoing. Look what happens. We created a wonderful friendship, and I'm blessed to have met you and to know you, and look at the work that we're doing. It's so powerful.
I know it is. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it, Janet. It's been an absolute honor. So we'll say namaste for now.
Namaste to you. Thank you again.
And thank you. And goodbye to the listeners. Thank you.